mean, are you concerned about the, Elon Musk says there's more and more subscribers coming online. Are you concerned about that? And what tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
So look, this is something that we're certainly keeping an eye on.
It's time for the states to start taking an out-of-control federal government a lot more seriously than most of them currently are. Thankfully, there is somebody out there who's been outstanding on this, and we've had nobody be outstanding on this. Joining me now, current Attorney General of the great state of Missouri, but he won't be there long. No, they didn't kick him out. They're sending him to the United States Senate. Thank God for that, because all of our senators, well, most of them suck. Joining me now, Attorney General Eric Schmitt. Why does the federal government feel so comfortable speaking to us this way now? I'm not that old. I don't remember presidents ever speaking this way to us.
Well, I think the left, the truth is, which is now dominating the Democrat Party, really hates the First Amendment. They like controlling the narrative, which is why you see this reaction to Elon Musk buying Twitter is so threatening, because what they really want to do is, it's about power and control. And if somebody has a dissenting opinion, they want to cast them out. This is no longer about the free exchange of ideas or freedom of speech, and people, in the public square, people get to have their say, and the First Amendment has always been this kind of pressure release valve for our country. It's the beating heart of the Constitution. But now you have one political party that views that as dangerous, and they'll label anybody that disagrees with them as, just pick the name they want to call them, or quote unquote misinformation or disinformation. But this has reached now the highest levels of government, Jesse. I mean, this is why we filed the lawsuit against the Biden administration to expose not just these big tech platforms doing that themselves, which they receive the benefit of Section 230 protection, but now, which they shouldn't, but now you've got the federal government, big government, colluding with big tech to outsource its censorship, which should be illegal in this country, and they're doing it. And so we filed the lawsuit in May. We've made a lot of progress. The discovery has unfolded some shocking revelations, like weekly censorship meetings that the Biden administration was having with big tech partners, a special portal for them to get information to big tech to deplatform folks, text messages from high-ranking Facebook officials directly to the Surgeon General of the United States saying, hey, we took that person down, we took those comments down, what else can we do? I mean, this is shocking stuff. And then, of course, we had the 7-hour Fauci deposition last week, which revealed a lot, too.
You know what? Actually, let's begin with the Fauci stuff, because I'm dying to get to the big tech stuff, but I want to begin with Fauci just because of how much damage he's done. Tell me what you did, and why did you even get to be able to depose him? What happened? What'd you do?
Yeah, so in that lawsuit where we're alleging and now proving that big government colluded with big tech, a central focus of that lawsuit is that, during COVID, the government was working hand in hand with big tech to silence dissent. And of course, the main character in the middle of this play is Anthony Fauci. And it's really interesting because he has, tried to present himself as this all-knowing, I am the science guy. But in his deposition, there was a lot of I don't recalls. I think that was clear. But over 7 hours, we were able to, extract a lot of really important information. For example, the lab leak theory, which is absolutely credible, the most likely explanation for what actually happened. His agency was funding research at the Wuhan lab. And what you see in that deposition is that very early in February, when he becomes, aware of this as a story that's moving, they quickly move to discredit it. And only weeks later, anybody that utters it is, peddling disinformation. And guess what big tech does? Big tech then starts censoring people at the behest of people like Anthony Fauci and his communications team. Secondly, as far as the restrictions that were being in place, what should the response be? He sent Dr. Lane, his chief lieutenant, to China to observe what they were doing in China. He comes back raving about these Chinese extreme measures, these lockdowns that the communists were putting in place for their people. And so Fauci loved that idea, was certainly advocating for it. And then you've got masks. In February of 2020, a friend emails him and says, hey, should I wear a mask on the plane given everything that's going on with COVID? His response essentially is masks are completely ineffective. You don't need to wear a mask. That opinion is affirmed by studies that are presented to him as late as March 31st of 2020 4 days later, Jesse, he comes out in a press conference essentially saying that, masks should be required, masks should be used, and then we've got, masking of school kids, COVID tyranny is born, lives are ruined. So this guy has been making it up as he goes along. This is about power and control. It's never been about the science, but it's really important part of this case because to prove essentially that Fauci, whatever Fauci says when he speaks, big tech will censor. And so that's part of why we got the deposition scheduled. The judge agreed to let us have it. We've got depositions coming of an FBI agent that's actually happening today on the Hunter Biden laptop story. Jen Psaki's coming in a couple weeks. So we are moving this thing along, and for the first time, getting a peek under the hood of this Orwellian machine that was created, this ministry of truth that ought to frighten every American.
Subscribe to the First TV today for instant access to exclusive specials and content you actually want to watch. Your support helps the First TV fuel the fight against those seeking to destroy our right to free speech. Simply visit thefirsttv.com/support to join the fight today.